To the minute, slowing down. Maybe soon. Lebanon, Karg Island. That is A1. Sorry, let's see. Konya, Deloitte, yep. It's about protecting oil supply. Testing. All right. Analyze. Plus. Into. U.S. Been prepared. All right, let's do it. Yeah, it works. Tweaks in. Hello, everybody. What's up? What's up, YouTube? What up, Lisa? Is she on? Let's see. Oh, Lisa, working from home. How is the ski injury?
Yeah, I think so.
Everyone is so excited to see you. You've been missed. Wait, I don't know if I have your audio. Can you guys hear her?
All right, open G whenever.
I can't hear you. Can you guys hear her okay? You might be able to hear her. I might not be able to. Nope. Aw. All right, hold on. Lise, we're going to shoot the open real fast, and then I'm coming back.
Oh, okay. Hang on. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but mute yourself because we're about to shoot now. But yeah, that works. Lisa's back.
All right, stand by. 3.
Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight the president is calling on U.S. allies to deploy warships to help escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. But is this about protecting the world's oil supply or testing America's alliances?
We don't need anybody. We're the strongest nation in the world. I'm almost doing it in some cases, not because we need them, but because I want to find out how they react.
Why allies are less than enthusiastic to send military support to help end the Iranian blockade, plus an NBC investigation into whether the U.S. has been prepared for Iran's cheap but effective drones, which are transforming the battlefield. Then those long lines at TSA don't seem to be getting any shorter as workers go unpaid, and they are quitting in droves as the partial government shutdown is now in its 5th week. And severe weather is wreaking havoc in parts of the country, with some winds so strong they can fling little boys off their feet and out of their front yards. Let's do that again. I thought it was out into the front yards. Yeah, okay. All right. All right, second time's a charm. So strong today. Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight the president is calling on U.S. allies to deploy warships to help escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. But is this about protecting the world's oil supply or testing America's alliances?
We don't need anybody. We're the strongest nation in the world. I'm almost doing it in some cases, not because we need them, but because I want to find out how they react.
Why allies are less than enthusiastic to send in military support to help end the Iranian blockade. Plus, an NBC investigation into whether the U.S. has been prepared for Iran's cheap but effective drones, which are transforming the battlefield. Then those long lines at TSA don't seem to be getting any shorter as workers go unpaid and are quitting in droves as a partial government shutdown is now in its 5th week. And severe weather is wreaking havoc in parts of the country. Some wind so strong they even flung this little kid off his feet out into the front yard. Poor little guy. Man, he had a little cape on and everything. What's up? Oh, is that Ben? Hi, Ben. How's it going? Okay, unmute yourself, Lise. Hey.
There we go. Now
Hi,
we're set.
Daddy.
There we go. Now
There we go. Hi. Oh, man, look at how much everybody missed Lisa. Yes, may you continue to... Are you taking care of your mom, Ben?
Ben has been a fantastic help.
Oh, yeah? How so?
Oh, yeah.
Tell me everything.
Oh yeah. Oh wait, here.
How can you
Oh wait,
hear?
here. How can you hear? There we go. There we go.
What happened to my camera? Did you just do that, Ben? What is going on?
Oh wait, what happened? I think we're on your. I think we're on your phone.
I think we're on your phone.
No. Oh, are you? No. Something. Oh, oops.
Hi.
I don't know what just happened. There you go. All right. Boom. We're back, I think. But I think you have to turn your volume back up because I can't hear you. Hey, what's up, Josh 505? Great to see you. Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight the president is calling on U.S. allies to deploy warships to help escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. But is this about? They even flung this little kid off his feet out into the front yard. That's not. I'm not going to see. Let's see. Dun, 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 dun. Joseph, thanks for sharing. Lise, can you? Dang, that kid did go flying. Let's get over to NBC News chief foreign correspondent Richard Engel with the latest from Israel. Richard, first off, it seems like there are ships braving through the Strait of... Hi, how's it going? Now let's get over to the White House where Gabe Gutierrez is standing by. Gabe, this coalition that Trump is looking to build to police potentially the Strait of Hormuz here, it's Trump just... Yeah, I think what they're doing is, it's probably pretty confusing, but they are... they're running some edits.
Oh, are you hearing? Sorry, the playback.
I think they were hearing the playback. Yeah. That's okay. So, all right, don't worry. This is the stream before the stream. So, right at 5 o'clock here on the West Coast, 8 o'clock on the East Coast. In 4 minutes, we're going to be. Well, yeah, the camera's doing something crazy. Did you see that, Kevin? I didn't touch it at all. That's wild.
Kevin.
What it's doing. No worries. Anyway, show's starting in just a little bit. I can always just punch up this camera, or I can punch up this camera, or I can punch up this. But for now, we've got Lisa here. I miss Lisa too.
I know. I love how concerned everyone was. They're like, the Queensboro. Where is that?
You the queen. You're the queen of this
My
show,
house
Lisa.
is where we are because your girl can't make it around the block, let alone into Manhattan right now. So,
Why don't you tell people what happened? The real
which
story.
version?
I know. I've been telling them that there was an avalanche. There was a kitten that you saved.
There was a black bear that jumped out onto the ski slope and attacked me on the Black Diamond. I tried to jump over it. It was a ski accident. That part is true.
Yeah.
And I did finish the slope. That part is also true. Might not have been the smartest decision on my part, but we did it. And I am now out with a broken pelvis until your girl can walk again and here we are.
I didn't violate any HIPAA laws here, but the whole floor crew was just like, oof, oof, ouch, when they heard about the pelvis. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No
Mike
joke.
is worried about you. Oh, well, thanks, Ben. And you better be helping your mom. Anything that she wants, you better get it for her.
He does.
Immediately.
He's been doing good.
Mm-hmm. Good. Yeah, always avalanche bears. They're the worst. Hello from Indonesia. Wow. Yeah. All right. So just getting back into it here, we are going to be starting with the war in Iran. The president was, I'm sure you saw just in the open that we just pre-recorded. He's saying that we don't need any help, but he's also saying that he wants to test alliances. Strait of Hormuz, remember, we've been talking about that for quite some time. It is such a choke point for global supply chains, starting with oil and beyond. But really, the United States doesn't get that much oil from the Strait of Hormuz. It gets very, very little amounts of oil. Yeah, what is it doing? Did you see this, Kev? Yeah, and now I'm stuck in this. So, we're having some, there we go.
1 minute to sound.
Interesting. Hope it doesn't do that during the show. And then we are going to be... Somebody hack my hack? Zoom out, camera. This is going to be weird. Oh, there we go. What the? Let's see. I'm going to do front camera ultra wide and just leave it here. Nope. Yeah, let's see.
30 to sound.
What is happening? This is crazy. All right, I'm going to put up the full show for now until we can figure this out. There we go. I think we fixed it. All right, 4 seconds, and we're off to the races. 3, 2, 1.
Starting at G.
Hey guys, it's Scotty Schwartz, and tonight the president is calling on U.S. allies to deploy warships to help escort tankers through the Strait of Hormuz. But is this about protecting the world's oil supply or testing America's alliances?
We don't need anybody. We're the strongest nation in the world. I'm almost doing it in some cases, not because we need them, but because I want to find out how they react.
Why allies are less than enthusiastic to send in military support to help end the Iranian blockade. Plus, an NBC investigation into whether the U.S. has been prepared for Iran's cheap but effective drones, which are transforming the battlefield. Then those long lines at TSA don't seem to be getting any shorter as workers go unpaid and are quitting in droves as a partial government shutdown is now in its 5th week. And severe weather is wreaking havoc in parts of the country. Some wind so strong they even flung this little kid off his feet out into the front yard. And tonight, we start in the Middle East, where all eyes are once again on the Strait of Hormuz, and the fighting is showing no sign of slowing down. In fact, the president said he doesn't think the war is going to end this week, but maybe soon. From Tehran, we are seeing airstrikes continue to rain down and rescue crews digging through more rubble. Lebanon, where Israeli troops are trying to push Hezbollah from their shared border, to Karg Island, where CENTCOM says U.S. forces have obliterated more than 90 Iranian military targets and are poised to take out the cornerstone of Iran's oil infrastructure if things continue to go south.
As you know, we attacked Karg Island and knocked it literally, destroyed everything on the island except for the area where the oil is. I call it the pipes. We left the pipes. We didn't want to do that, but we will do that. We can do that on 5 minutes' notice. It'll be over.
And Iran is not backing down either, striking a spot near Dubai's airport, the world's busiest, forcing airlines to temporarily suspend flights earlier today. But when it comes to the Strait of Hormuz, there is still this huge question looming. Are there mines in the water or are there not? Is it open? Is it closed? Well, according to Iranian officials, it is open to their allies, but not their enemies, something President Trump said he has reached out to other world leaders about.
Numerous countries have told me they're on the way, and some are countries that we've helped for many, many years. We've protected them from horrible outside sources, and they weren't that enthusiastic.
Let's get over to NBC News Chief Foreign Correspondent Richard Engel with the latest from Israel. Richard, first off, it seems like there are ships braving through the Strait of Hormuz. Not many, but still some traffic. That is a very big sign for everyone that's watching that. Does that mean that, I don't know, mines are not in the water there?
Well, there might not be mines necessarily in the water. There hasn't been any direct intelligence that there are large numbers of mines or any mines that are there. But and President Trump actually was talking about it earlier. We have a clip lined up. Let's hear what Trump said about that, and then we'll talk on the back end.
We hit, to the best of our knowledge, all of their mine-laying ships. Now they can put them on other types of ships, I guess, and drop them in. But we don't know that any have even been dropped in. We're not sure that any have been. That's a big negative for them if they do it. It's a form of suicide.
So President Trump is about mines, to continue this conversation, that could be sort of dropped into the water. And all mines don't work that way. World War II mines, they were these big magnetic things. You drop them off ships, or they were special mine loading ships. They would open up and release them like floats into the water. And they would either sit on the surface or sit just below the surface, so they'd be difficult to detect. Now it's more of a drone war. And if you look to what's been happening with Ukraine, with Russia, if you really want to disrupt an enemy fleet or an enemy navy, you use drone mines. You don't just dump things in the water that are explosive and you can bump into, because you can bump into themselves. The Iranians don't want to blow up Chinese ships because they still want to maintain relations with China. They don't want to blow up ships that are now not aligning with President Trump, not joining his coalition. So they want to be selective should they want to attack shipping, and just sort of dropping things off the side of ship. A, it isn't exactly how it's done anymore, and B, it would be particularly ineffective for Iran's purposes in this conflict.
And Richard, as you were talking, we were playing some video, and I want to bring that back if we can, because it is very notable. It's something that I think a lot of people don't realize. It's the topography near the Strait of Hormuz. This isn't just a desert that is flat that goes right up to the sea there, right? This is topography that is filled with mountain ranges, is filled with cliffs, a lot of places for the drones that you're talking about to hide, right? Is that probably the part of the problem here?
Well, that's only one aspect of it. I mean, you're talking about a large waterway. So if you want to put a sea drone in, you don't have to drop it right there in front of the battleship. These things can travel great distances. You could put them around the hook. You could go up closer to Iraq. You could have them put in the water by Iraqi militias. It's a large waterway, and if you want to just slip something into the water, you can go into the Gulf of Oman. You could go into the Persian Gulf. You could use the Strait of Hormuz itself. Ships are uniquely vulnerable. There's just no two ways around it. And mining that or putting explosive devices in that would certainly drive costs up, potentially create a wedge. President Trump has talked about accompanying all of the ships that would go through there. That's going to be the U.S. military's role for an independent, open-ended period of time, accompanying oil tankers. Our adversaries will look at that and be delighted, because it means that they're not focused on other parts of the world, namely Taiwan, or means fewer resources for Ukraine. It means fewer resources in Latin America. If you're tying up your troops, escorting oil tankers back and forth, hunting for really sea drones that could be slipped in anywhere, it will take up an enormous amount of time, resources, and there's no real guarantee of success, just ask the Russians.
Yeah. And as for the new Ayatollah and who makes up his command structure right now, the president was talking about that a little bit earlier. Let's listen to what he said there real fast.
We don't even know their leaders. Look, all of their leaders are dead, as far as we know, but they're all dead. We don't know who we're dealing with. We met with the next group, but we don't know who their leader is. We have people wanting to negotiate. We have no idea who they are.
So who would the United States try to negotiate through right now? And Richard, again, I don't want to make a big deal about this. This is nothing. But to your trained ears, when you hear the president saying we have people that want to negotiate, Yeah, the term, we have people that want to negotiate, that seems like a far cry from what we were hearing last week, right?
Well, it's complicated, and it goes back to the very murky origins of this war. There were negotiations going on. I was directly in touch, still am directly in touch with some of the negotiators. There was a process underway. The Omanis were mediating. The two sides were meeting. I had been in Iran several times before, spoken to Iranian officials. They were keen to reach a deal. They said, if this is just focused on the nuclear program, we can get a deal. They were willing to compromise on enrichment. They were willing to talk about these kilograms of more highly enriched uranium that are unaccounted for, about 800 plus pounds of the 60% enriched uranium. They were willing to make a deal, and the two sides were close. And then the negotiations ended, and then there was an attack. And why was there an imminent attack at that moment? Because now we know there was this intelligence. There was an intelligence opportunity, and that intelligence opportunity suggested the supreme leader was going to be there with his inner circle, and the time was needed for an urgent action, and the U.S. and Israel carried out what they described as a preemptive strike. And then we heard different rationale about why it was going to happen, with Marco Rubio saying, well, we thought the Israelis were going to strike, which also sort of makes sense in this context. If he says, well, we knew that they had this meeting going, and then President Trump said, no, I made the decision. If anything, I brought them along. But either way, there was an intelligence opportunity. And if you go back, actually, to 2003, that Iraq war started the same way. U.S. troops were built up, but there was a surprise attack right before the first day to try and eliminate Saddam Hussein. They missed in that case. Here, the U.S. and Israel got the supreme leader. How all of this fits to how President Trump is finding that he doesn't know who he's talking to. Well, they've killed all the leaders, and then they killed the next generation of leaders, and there is still a government in charge, but many people have been killed. So it's no surprise that some of these voices on the phone are new voices because they've killed the old voices.
About 4.5 back.
Wow. The timing of certain intelligence, that is something that we totally forget about when we're looking at rationale of war. Richard Engel, your reporting is always incredible on all of this. Thank you so much for joining us. Now let's get over to the White House, where Gabe Gutierrez is standing by. Gabe, this coalition that Trump is looking to build to police potentially the Strait of Hormuz here, Trump just spoke about it again just a little bit ago. Let's take a listen.
I get along great with those countries in NATO, but I always said, you know, the problem with NATO is we'll always be there for them, but they'll never be there for us.
What are they doing? So where does help stand right now? What are specific allies saying?
Oh, okay, not the LA one.
Well, Gotti, this is very interesting in the sense that leading up to this war, the president didn't seem interested in much diplomacy with European allies, but right now he is trying to secure their support in order to protect the Strait of Hormuz, this critical waterway where some 20% of the world's oil flows through, although mostly to Asia, not really to the U.S. Now, you're looking right there at some of the countries that the president is speaking with in order to try and secure some of the support. Of course, the European Union, France, Germany, South Korea, Japan, and as well as China. As of now, Gotti, there really hasn't been any commitment from any of those countries to help. A top German official, for example, said that this is not our war. A top diplomat for the European Union coming back and saying that there is virtually no appetite in order to escort ships through the Strait of Hormuz. Now, certainly the president here at the White House today seemed frustrated by those responses. He said that he wanted European allies to show some enthusiasm for doing this. But then he came back and said, look, the United States can protect the Strait of Hormuz alone, saying it has the most powerful military in the world. But certainly some frustration evident from the president today with this lukewarm response so far from those other countries. Got it.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Trump seemed to say today that Iran is ready to negotiate a ceasefire, but he's not ready to make a deal. Iran, on the other hand, it seems to us at least that they are saying that that is not true at all. Where do things stand right now?
Right. Well, look, there are some conflicting reports about that right now, Gadi. The Iranian foreign minister, for example, today, he's denying that he has had any contact with the special envoy to the Middle East, Steve Witkoff. However, the president today is saying that there are some talks underway with Iran, but it's hard to know exactly who's in charge of that country right now. The president's saying that several waves of leadership have been killed here, and it's really tough to sort out where those talks stand, if at all. U.S. military, though, continuing its campaign, though, against Iran. And right now, there doesn't appear to be any end in sight. Although 6 people familiar with the plans do tell NBC News that the president has been repeatedly briefed on potential off-ramps to this war as part of his daily briefings, although the president has not yet taken any of those off-ramps. So again, it's unclear how long this conflict will last, Guy.
And Gabe, some pretty big news when it comes to China, right? Trump announced that he might delay his trip to China because of all this. Why?
Well, that is still an open question at this point. You know, and over the weekend, the president suggested in an interview that he may end up delaying his trip, his long-planned summit with Chinese President Xi Jinping, which is set to start in just a few weeks, that he wanted to delay it perhaps, this came as he was pressuring China, as he wanted China to help protect the Strait of Hormuz. Now, this morning, the Treasury Secretary, Scott Bessent, came back and said that that wasn't the reason for it, that this was due to just logistical concerns. And then later on today, the president came out and said that he may want to delay this trip to China because he felt that it was important to be at the White House or here in Washington, and because the U.S. Was at war. So at this point, it's possible it could be delayed by a month or so, according to the president, although that hasn't been firmly decided yet. We just have to wait and see. Got it.
We sure will. NBC's Gabe Gutierrez at the White House. Gabe, thank you. Meanwhile, travelers across the country have been waiting in some very, very long TSA lines, and that's all because of DHS funding. TSA agents didn't get a full paycheck last Friday for the first time during this partial government shutdown, and NBC's Tom Costello has the very latest.
Hey, guys, so you know that Capitol Hill has been feeling the heat because the airline CEOs have said they've got to stop treating passengers and transportation security officers like political pawns, which essentially is what has been happening for the last 30 days. And now we're told that 366 TSA officers have quit. In addition, the numbers who are calling out, quote unquote, sick every day continues to increase because officers who are not making any money, they've gone for a month now without a paycheck, they're taking second jobs to put food on the table. So here are the stats. Nationwide, the TSA says 6.6% of officers are calling out every day compared to a normal rate of 2%. And we've seen big call outs in Houston, Hobby, for example, Atlanta, New Orleans. But at 21%, that's the rate in Atlanta and JFK and Houston Hobby. 21% call out rate right now. 16% in New Orleans. 14% of TSO officers in Pittsburgh are also calling out. Now, here's how this breaks down. TSA officers make $35,000 to $40,000 a year. So they're living paycheck to paycheck in most cases. They generally don't have a big bank account. Last fall, as you know, they went without 3 paychecks. It took a whole month before they got their back pay. And this time, increasingly, more and more of them are saying they're not putting up with that anymore. They are not interested in working for a company or an organization that makes them go through this every 6 months or so. And that's why we've seen more of them call out sick. More of them are actually quitting. No sign at the moment of compromise on Capitol Hill. Democrats blame Republicans. Republicans are blaming Democrats. The president, of course, blaming Democrats. Bottom line is the Democrats want to see reforms to how ICE handles its policies and procedures following the deaths of 2 Americans earlier this year. Republicans are not willing to loop all of that or lump all of that into one spending package. So we're at this impasse that continues, and the fear is it will only get worse as the days and the weeks go on without any sort of a compromise whatsoever. Get to the airport 2 to 3 hours early is the best advice, according to TSA. Gotti?
Yeah, that's always the best advice. Tom Costello, thank you so much. And all those travel delays are even worse tonight because of severe storms hitting major cities like Philly, New York, D.C. The strong winds knocking down trees, knocking out power as the East Coast faces this rare risk of tornadoes. And that's as blizzard conditions pummel the Midwest, carrying the smoke of this massive warehouse fire in Wisconsin, stranding cars all over. The rough conditions making it nearly impossible to drive. Some places setting new snowfall records. We're also seeing storms in Hawaii close schools and cause landslides. Look at this one couple's garage. Wow, that was swept away over the weekend. NBC's Angie Lastman has more from Green Bay, Wisconsin. Angie?
Tonight, the Midwest buried in record-smashing snow. Look at these near whiteout conditions in this video from Wisconsin. You can barely make out the road. Car after car after car stuck.
Probably one of the crazier snowstorms we've ever seen.
One town got a jaw-dropping 3 feet, while here in Green Bay,
this storm already dumping 20 inches of snow so far, solidifying its place in the record books as the largest March snowstorm since 1888. An impressive amount of snow, even for Midwest standards, with just 4 days till spring.
A massive fire broke out at a warehouse here this morning. Firefighters fighting high winds and freezing equipment as they battled the blaze. The blizzard also causing dangerous conditions on the roads in Iowa, where this tractor trailer overturned. And in South Dakota, where pushing was the only way out for this Amazon truck. While in Michigan, a dramatic rescue. Watch this Coast Guard cutter make its way to a snowmobiler stranded on a sheet of ice, pulling him on board to safety. Meanwhile, the East Coast was pummeled by an outbreak of severe storms today, with portions of 10 states under tornado watches. Take a look at this funnel cloud that formed over a highway in Maryland. The wind and rain leading to a mess at the nation's airports. More than 4,000 flights canceled today, with the storms triggering ground stops at major hubs including Atlanta and Chicago. In Charlotte, high winds sent debris through the air. The winds were so strong in Texas over the weekend, it sent this child flying. Even the South was hit by frigid temperatures today, with a rare snowstorm in Alabama. While back in the Midwest, the snow is finally tapering off, but the dig-out is just beginning.
More than 300 cities across the Midwest picking up double-digit snowfall totals, including here in Green Bay, where cleanup has just begun. City officials now extending the snow emergency through at least Tuesday night, urging drivers to stay off the roads. Gotti?
Angie Lastman, thank you so much. So spring might not be around the corner where she is or out east, but here on the West Coast, it is feeling like the middle of summer already. There's this extreme heat wave that is passing through right now, and NBC's Bill Cairns has more on what the weather holds this week. Bill?
Gotti, our powerful storm is continuing to push towards the East Coast and also drag that heavy snow and winds up through the Great Lakes and a little bit there in areas of Pennsylvania and New York. We've had a lot of severe weather reports today, but we haven't had anything that's been like decimating. No big tornadoes or anything like that. A lot of downed trees in areas. Every blue dot you see here is where we've had a wind damage report or a high wind gust. And the winds will be a factor as we go throughout the rest of this evening. Not concerned about severe weather anymore, but in areas of down East Maine, also here in the areas of Cape Cod back to Boston, high wind warnings are up. And as that cold front slides through tonight, the winds are going to rattle, and everyone in their house will probably be waking up in the middle of the night, especially if we get wind gusts up to 63 miles per hour. That's in Boston. So you may even get some gusts to 70 miles per hour down here on Cape Cod and heading down towards areas of Providence, Block Island, the Newport area. So that will be probably the biggest threat throughout the rest of this evening. As far as the snow goes, snow showers lingering in Michigan, also through Interstate 70 from Indianapolis to Columbus. This little narrow band of snow could produce quick 2 to 3 inches, especially on the grassy surfaces the rest of this evening. So careful driving western sections of the Mass Pike and also through the upstate New York and heading into areas on the New York State Thruway near Buffalo, Rochester, Syracuse. Just enough to be annoying. The blue is 2 to 4 inches of snow. A couple isolated spots higher than that, but we'll be done with this storm by the time we get to tomorrow morning. Then we shift to this incredible heat wave that is going to be about 5 to 6 days long. This is going to break records of all kinds. So excessive heat warnings. First off, Phoenix has never had an excessive heat warning in the month of March before. The earliest is April 20th. So a month and about 4 days earlier than ever before. So that just shows you how unusual this is. Everyone with a red dot here has a chance of setting a record high in the next 5 days. The only exception in the West is really Washington State. Everyone else is in the middle of this, and really the poster child is going to be areas of the desert Southwest. That's where it's by far going to be the worst. So these are the predicted high temperatures Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Everyone is very hot. Phoenix, by the way, has only hit 100 degree once in March in their history. Every March, going over 100 years. Well, Phoenix is going to be 101 on Wednesday, Thursday 104. By the time we get to Friday and Saturday, Phoenix will be 106 and 106. And Gotti, there are places in California that are forecasted to get up to about 114 degrees in the desert. And if that happens, that'll be the warmest we've ever recorded anywhere in our country for the month of March and April. It will be incredible if it happens. We'll talk more about that the rest of this week.
Bill Cairns, thank you. Don't go anywhere. Coming up next, chaos on the beach during the busy spring break season in Florida. What got people running to safely? Plus, Cuba's economic crisis getting more dire by the day as the island is hit with a power blackout. George Solis is on the ground in Havana, Cuba, so stay tuned for that.
All right,
90 seconds? Okay, cool. And we're still good on time here? Corey Richards, verdict has been written according to the mom. We need that mom, wrote the kid's book for being arrested. Husband. Listen in. Yep.
1 minute.
Okay. Hey, guys, 1 minute. We got 1 minute to chat. Sorry, it's a crazy day. So Corey Richards, I'm not sure if you guys remember the mom in Utah who was arrested and charged with trying to killing her husband and trying to poison them with fentanyl. And then way before that, before she was arrested, before she was charged, before she was put on trial, she wrote a kid's book about grief and overcoming grief. She is in court today, and the jury has just reached a verdict in the last 10-15 minutes. So we're expecting that to be read any moment here. So we're going to be bringing you that live. First, we're going to get to these headlines here. Let's see. Yes. Corey is a woman. Yep. One Adam. I'll have to take a look. Here we go.
5, 4, 3.
Hey, welcome back. Here are some of the headlines we are watching tonight. White House Chief of Staff Susie Wiles has been diagnosed with breast cancer. She says that cancer was caught early, and she plans to maintain her role at the White House during her treatments. President Trump added that Wiles has a fantastic medical team and the prognosis is excellent. And a federal judge is blocking Robert F. Kennedy Jr.'s plan to overhaul the childhood vaccine schedule. Now, the Massachusetts judge sided with medical groups, including the American Academy of Pediatrics. They sued the Department of Health and Human Services, and they argued that Kennedy's changes to the vaccine recommendations violated federal law. A spokesman for HHS says that this is another attempt by this judge to, quote, keep the Trump administration from governing. And the Trump-appointed board of the Kennedy Center for Performing Arts voted unanimously today to shut down for 2 years. That move clears the way for a $250 million renovation that's set to start after July 4th. Trump fired the Kennedy Center's former board back in February of 2025 and named himself chairman. And almost 4,000 workers at a meatpacking plant in Colorado are on strike. That walkout at the JBS Swift beef plant comes after contract negotiations between the company and the union representing employees hit a snag. Union leaders say that the company's proposed pay increases don't keep up with inflation, while JBS says the offer is fair. And one battle after another was the big winner last night at the Oscars. It took home 6 Academy Awards, including Best Picture. Jessie Buckley wrapped up her award season sweep for her performance in Hamnet in Best Actress. And Michael B. Jordan, he won his first Oscar for Sinners, but it was his pit stop after that award ceremony that is breaking the internet today. Yep, he got hungry and followed in the footsteps of Julia Roberts, Hilary Swank, Jamie Lee Curtis. He celebrated with a burger from In-N-Out Burger. Gotta admit, a burger in one hand, an Oscar in the other. I mean, double fisting. That is a pretty good way to end the night. And as spring break goes into full swing, one popular Florida destination is under scrutiny after what police call this beachfront stampede. You can see it in this video. And that incident is one during a violent spring break. Jesse Kirsch takes us down to show us what's happening right now.
This is the moment chaos erupts in Daytona Beach, Florida. Hundreds of people running across the beach Saturday after what appeared to be gunshots ringing out.
There were 0 gunshots on the beach because what they were doing was crushing a water bottle to make it sound like a gunshot to stampede the crowd.
The Volusia County Sheriff says it happened even with dozens of law enforcement officers in the crowd, later adding at least one weekend shooting was also spring break related. And in Port Aransas, Texas, police say a 17-year-old shot and wounded 5 people on a beach late Saturday night.
No one's running from gunshots.
But in Miami Beach, Florida, an iconic party town has worked on a spring break rebrand in recent years. And it seems to be working. Police say this weekend arrests plummeted almost 21% year over year. The city's surging resources, more police, DUI and license plate checks, but also parking and getting towed are more expensive.
The strategy that we implemented was an all hands on deck and a collective strategy involving not only the police department, but different city entities that made it very clear, we welcome you to our city, but if you decide to break the rules and break the law, you'll be dealt with accordingly.
Embracing a new strategy to avoid scenes like this. Jesse Kirsch, NBC News, Miami Beach, Florida.
All over a water bottle. Jesse, thank you so much. Coming up, an NBC News investigation is digging into Iran's use of those low-cost Shahed drones and what's making them so effective this war. That's straight ahead, so stay tuned.
Clear 2 minutes.
Yeah, a water bottle. Wow. Man, yeah, so was it one of the dry ice things, or was it just like when you take it, then you just pop it? That was hundreds and hundreds of people. I'm glad it wasn't a shooting. I'm so thankful that it was a water bottle. All right, what up, chat? What are you guys talking about? I've been trying to read, but it's been a very busy day. Michael B. Jordan, he's a man. He deserves all of the In-N-Out burgers. Tina, great to see you. All right, we're gonna maybe go to, yep, we have it. Cool. Perfect. Okay. All right, so we are getting ready to jump back in with some breaking news as to what's happening. Got it. Okay, got it. Okay. So no SOT.
5, 4, 3.
And some breaking news to get to right now. Out in Utah, a verdict's been reached in the trial of Corey Richens, that mom who wrote a kid's book about grief before being charged with killing her husband. This is the judge right now giving some instructions to the courtroom, to the jury. We're expecting the jury to file back into the courtroom any moment now. The jury took around 2 hours to reach a decision after both sides delivered their closing arguments earlier today. Richens is accused of poisoning her husband and father of her children with fentanyl. Remember, she released that kid's book about grief a year after his death. This is it. Are you with me? Let's bring in Camila Bernal, who's following this case for us. Again, Camila, we'll jump in if we see Actually, it looks like they may be standing for the jury to come in.
They're getting up for the jury.
Let's listen in here. Yeah, let's listen in. And again, if you're just joining us, this is a verdict reached in the Corey Richins trial. This is Corey Richins in the courtroom awaiting the jury to come in. The court is standing, and they are awaiting the jury to read their verdict. But Camila, I'm not sure if you're still with us here. Jury deliberations 2 hours today. Then we just got this note from the judge after they said that they wanted to work into the night. What do we expect here?
Yeah, almost 3 hours. They actually got dinner because they said they wanted to continue deliberating. The producer that we have inside the courtroom actually said that as everybody came back, because the verdict had been reached, Corey was visibly shaking, and you can see her there in your screen. She was just taking a breath as she waits for that jury to come in. The prosecution has argued that she killed her husband because she wanted his money and because she wanted a life with another man. The defense has continued to say that there is no proof because we do not know where that fentanyl came from, and they never found that fentanyl. So let's listen in as that's about to be read.
May I ask you a yes or no question? Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict? Yes, we have. Would you please hand the verdict form to the deputy, and you can have a seat. Thank you. I'll take that. All right. Counsel, Ms. Richins, please stand. Count 1, aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree that the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 1 beyond a reasonable doubt. The homicide was committed for pecuniary gain, and the homicide was committed by means of the administration of any substance administered in a lethal amount, dosage, or quantity. Count 2, attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of attempted aggravated murder. We, the jury, unanimously agree the prosecution has proved the following circumstance or circumstances regarding count 2 beyond a reasonable doubt. The attempted homicide was committed for pecuniary gain. Count 3, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 4, insurance fraud. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of insurance fraud. Count 5, forgery. We, the jury, unanimously find that the defendant, Corey Richins, is guilty of forgery. It's signed by the foreperson. Please have a seat. Madam Foreperson, is this the verdict that the jury reached unanimously?
Yes, it is.
Okay, you may have a seat. Ms. Lewis, Ms. Nestor, do you wish the jury to be polled?
Yes, please.
All right. Folks, I'll ask you the same yes or no question, one at a time, starting on my left, working this way. Front row first. If you could show me your lanyard number as I ask you. Juror number 5, is this the verdict you voted in favor of?
Yes.
Juror number 4, is this a verdict you voted in favor of? Juror number 3.
Wow. Quite the verdict just now read in the case against Corey Richens, now found guilty of murder and guilty on all counts. Camila Bernal joins us. You've been watching the trial. You've been watching this live coverage right here. Camila, so count 1, guilty of murder. There was aggravated murder. There's also insurance fraud, right? Walk us through all the charges here.
Yeah, 2 counts of insurance fraud because they believe that she essentially took out a life insurance policy and tried to change the name on the policy so that she would be the beneficiary of that insurance policy and so that she would get this money. And the prosecution has long argued that she had been in debt. She was flipping homes. She was in real estate. And instead of making money, she was losing money. She was overdrafting in her bank account. So she was trying to figure out a way of getting that insurance money before Eric Richens was killed. And clearly the jury sided with the prosecution here. The fraud or the forgery, excuse me, also includes the fact that she tried to sign for these insurance policies, life insurance policies, and to get the money. It's interesting to see her reaction. You saw once the first guilty was read, she put her head down and was breathing in deeply. And then in your screen, you also saw Eric Richens' father at some point and his family members. You saw his sister, who has been at the forefront of this case because she was actually the one in charge of the trust, because Eric Richens actually put all of his money, his property into a trust. So when he died, Corey Richens was not able to access any of that money. She was not able to sell the house. And the prosecution argued she had no idea that all of this money was actually in a trust. So it was the sister who essentially spearheaded all of this because Corey filed a civil lawsuit against the sister, against the trust, to try to get some of that money after Eric Richens died. That did not work for her in the civil case, and it's not working for her in the criminal case. As you mentioned, 5 guilty charges to everything the prosecutors argued throughout this entire trial. It was supposed to be about 5 weeks long. Instead, it took about 3. And that's because Corey's defense team did not put up a single witness. She obviously did not testify on her behalf. They felt like the prosecution did not have enough to convict because they had never found the fentanyl pills. They had never found it in the house. They were unable to figure out exactly how the fentanyl got into Eric Richens' body. But the prosecution today said, look, she likely put it into a cocktail. It was either a Moscow Mule or a lemon drop, and that's how the fentanyl got in his body. So the jury sided with the prosecution and believed that theory, despite the fact that there's no proof, physical proof of the fentanyl being in that Moscow Mule, because they were never able to test the Moscow Mule cups. They were never able to find that at the house on the day that Eric Richens died. Gotti.
And Camila, real fast, so many people are familiar with this case because of the headlines about her writing this kid's book about grief in the time prior to her arrest, right? Can you tell us what came out in trial, if anything at all, about that kid's book and how that squared in the timeline of things?
Yeah, so actually, during the trial, what we heard was that she actually didn't write the book. She hired a ghostwriter to write this book for her, and what the prosecution said she was doing here was trying to keep the appearance that she was successful, that she was a writer. And then they also said she wanted money out of this book because she was going to get a certain amount of money per book that was sold on Amazon. So her goal was to sell so many books and essentially make a lot of money out of this book. So the prosecution pointed to the fact that this book, this children's book about grief, actually pointed to her character and the way that she tried to cover things up, because she also published it at around the time when prosecutors were honing in on her and interviewing her and essentially going after her. And when she realized that all of this was happening, she publishes this book. She goes on TV to talk about this book, and in the end, it ended up hurting her because the prosecution used all of this against her.
Wow. Camila Bernal, thank you so much for watching all of this as it unfolds with us. We also have NBC's legal analyst, Misty Maris, who joins us right now. Misty, give us your thoughts on the verdict. I mean, pretty remarkable. 3 hours. The trial was relatively short, and they never even found the fentanyl, right?
Right. Really quick turnaround time on that verdict. I was surprised to see that it came in tonight. But listen, Gotti, the case that the prosecutors put on was focused on motive. And that's why, in my view, this was going to be all or nothing, like we saw. If she was convicted of the aggravated murder, aggravated attempted murder, she was going to be convicted of those financial crimes as well, the insurance fraud and forgery. And that's because it all fit into the prosecution's narrative that she was in financial disarray, $4.5 million of debt. She was having an affair. She wanted a fresh start. And her plan was to kill her husband. It was a premeditated murder. That's the prosecution's case. Another unique thing about this case, because they didn't put on a defense, no witnesses, she didn't take the stand, but the jury heard from her. There is video of body cam footage when the police respond the night of Eric Richins' death. We heard from her in the 911 call, giving the jury a unique view to assess credibility without the defendant actually taking the stand. So this case really came down to establishing that motive, which prosecutors clearly did since the jury found the way that they did. And also that element of credibility. Was this woman acting like a widow, or was she acting like somebody who had done something nefarious? And that was the case.
Do you think that video played a big factor in what the jury decided? How would you characterize that video? What did they see?
I do. So I think the video was really important. And one of the reasons that, I know that prosecutors thought the same is that they focused on it during closing arguments. They actually played the video where Corey Richins is in her home. Police are responding. She's telling the police what happened. And then next to it, they put the reaction of Eric Richins' sister, who had a just heartbreaking emotional reaction to hearing that Eric had passed, that Eric had died that night. And the dichotomy between the two, Gotti, gave the jury this view of, well, what would common sense tell you? How would somebody act in this really horrific situation, this life-altering situation? And it kind of gave that window by virtue of that comparison. And I think that really went a long way with the jury.
Yeah, especially side by side. Now, guilty of murder, guilty of, I believe, aggravated murder, and all the insurance fraud charges, right? What is she looking at here? What is she looking at in terms of jail time?
So this actually would have been a death-eligible sentence, could have been. The prosecutors decided not to put the death penalty on the table. So this is life without parole. That's what she's looking at here. And keep in mind, there were the insurance fraud claims and the forgery charges that were brought as part of this case. There are other financial crimes that are waiting in the wings. So there's a whole other set of charges that have not gone to the courtroom yet, have not gone to the jury yet, while this particular case played out.
And those financial crimes, I mean, we heard the guilty to insurance fraud, but what else is there?
So it's the same where there was allegations that Corey Richins was taking out life insurance policies, manipulating financial documents in order to get money after Eric Richins had passed, because many things had been shielded from her during his lifetime. He made a lot of changes to the way that his estate would play out if he, in the way that it was held in trust, and others were going to be responsible, his sister being that individual. So all of that had changed. Corey Richins, according to prosecutors, did not know. So after the fact, tried to make some of these changes in that financial charges that stem from that. And all of that's interrelated, Gotti, because it all speaks to motive. Now, keep in mind, prosecutors actually don't have to prove motive. They have to prove intent, but not motive. But juries like to know why. And in this case, especially since they did not have clear evidence of how the fentanyl got into Eric Richins' system, how it got into his body, they did not have clear evidence. They really focused on that motive in order to establish the element of intent.
Misty Maris, thank you so much as we monitor this story. Richins found guilty on all charges related to her husband's death. It looks like Corey Richins will be facing sentencing pretty soon. Thank you so much. And now to Cuba, where the government reported this massive blackout to the national power system. This is all happening as the economy is on the verge of collapse and the country is running out of oil following that U.S. oil blockade and the arrest of Venezuela's president. But now, suddenly, the longtime communist government seems open to allowing Cubans living in the United States to start investing in their private sector. We are about to get to that massive news. But before we do, here's how President Trump sees it right now.
You know, all my life I've been hearing about the United States and Cuba. When will the United States do it? I do believe I'll be having the honor of taking Cuba. That'd be good. That's a big honor.
Taking Cuba.
Taking Cuba in some form, yeah. Taking Cuba. I mean, whether I free it, take it, I think I could do anything I want with it. You want to know the truth?
Those comments coming on the same day as Cuba's deputy prime minister told our George Solis in an exclusive interview. All of a sudden, their country is open to some foreign investments from Cubans living in places like the United States. Now, that would be a monumental shift given the history of the United States and Cuba and their revolution. And joining us now is NBC's George Solis in Havana, Cuba right now. George, looking behind you, I mean, I know that there was this blackout. It's still going on in most of Cuba, but I don't see a light on behind you. You must be the single light in that whole area. Is that right?
Yeah, Gotti, and it's a good point. I mean, we have a generator on, which is how we're able to broadcast here. And of course, anyone in Cuba that has one will be able to obviously keep the lights on, at least for the time being. And we have to tell you, we were actually out on the streets of Havana today talking to people during this latest blackout across the entire island. And some are obviously doing what they can. Some of them are checking on their neighbors. We saw one man with a flashlight in his hand. We saw streets of central Havana where people were just outside, some of them trying to beat the heat. It was a very hot day here today. And as this sun begins to set, many will head to El Malecón, right there, the seawall here in Havana. Many will sit there to cool off, others to really just separate themselves from the reality of this power situation, which at least if you're looking for a silver lining, it is slowly starting to come back on the grid here. About 19,000 or so are slowly being restored to power here, but the investigation is still very much ongoing into what caused this outage here. Officials are looking into it. They didn't find anything too abnormal, as they normally do with these power rolling blackouts that we've seen over the last several weeks and months. So again, this is one that is obviously still very much at the forefront of what's happening here. But how long before everyone gets back on the grid, Gotti, remains to be seen.
Fascinating interview today with the Deputy Prime Minister of Cuba, talking about the potential for opening of business in Cuba. I got to ask, though, is this Cuba's idea? Or is this Trump's idea and his administration? Because the blockade factored into this in a big way, right?
Well, the deputy prime minister here obviously very clear that because of the blockade, there's obviously a lot of issues that need to be ironed out. But he's essentially, the message that he's delivering is that Cuba is open for business. And we have to talk about the big picture of what this means. This isn't just the person in Miami who wants to help a family member here run a small bakery or a small repair shop. We're talking about titans of industry. We're talking about opening the door for big companies, the Walmarts, the Targets, to potentially one day set up shop here in Havana. We're talking about real estate, new hotels that could open here. I mean, it really just goes on and on. One thing that was particularly striking, banking, having banks run independently here, potentially down the way. And of course, as you mentioned, this all comes as the president here of Cuba acknowledges that they are in talks with the U.S. I mean, today, President Trump himself acknowledging that he continues these conversations. Granted, he did say that he wouldn't mind taking Cuba, but obviously there's so much at play here. But in terms of this announcement, this is obviously a major headline because of what it could mean. Here's a little bit more of my conversation with the Deputy Prime Minister.
Cuba is open to having a fluid commercial relationship with U.S. companies, also with Cubans residing in the United States and their descendants. And this extends beyond the commercial sphere. It also applies to investments, not only small investments, but also large investments, particularly in infrastructure.
Yeah, Gotti, if we could just go back to, obviously, the power situation, which is sort of the story here of the night. When talking to the Deputy Prime Minister, he did talk about some of the solutions that Cuba is trying to find to cut off their reliance on foreign crude to produce more fuel. They're looking at solar. They have really invested a lot in solar, and they are looking at how they can perhaps even work with some of the crude that they produce here. Granted, it is a product that is a lot harsher, so it does cause some problems with their infrastructure here, but that is the other outlet to bringing more investors here, maybe even one day opening the door to really work on that antiquated system here to help so many people who are really just looking for an opportunity to see their country prosper. Gotti?
Yeah, I mean, hearing the Deputy Foreign Minister talk about investment and investors, realistically, these investors, many of them would be Cubans living in the United States. Many of them escaped Cuba, fled Cuba because of the revolution that was happening there. There is an existential storm happening above Cuba right now. And I know that that's going to be settled potentially here, maybe in the near or far future. But I got to ask, what do the people on the street think about this whole situation that they find themselves in? Not the communism, not the capitalism, but the situation on the island right now.
Yeah, Gotti, a lot of people are suffering. There's no question. Many of them obviously telling us that it's been very challenging. The energy blockade providing a number of challenges for them to decide how to live their day-to-day. I mean, you have streets that have been completely empty. We've had reports of pregnant mothers in the hospitals giving birth in hospitals with no light. You have people who are hoping and hear opportunities like this that are presented and potentially on the table. They think what the country could look like with a lot more development, a lot more jobs, a lot more dollars floating here through the economy. So there is hope, there is optimism, but of course, time and time again, we have seen, not just in Cuba, but I mean, in any real country or place where there is an economic hardship, there's a lot of resiliency here. And I have to tell you, just being on the ground here in these early days, so many Cubans, so much resilience. Gotti?
Yeah. George Solis in Havana, Cuba, as darkness descends there. George, thank you. And coming up, the Paralympics may be over, but that means planning for the 2028 Olympics right here in Los Angeles is switching into high gear. More on that coming up. All right, here we go. We got 90 seconds? 90 seconds, wow. That Cuba story, that's gonna, we'll see what happens there. Hey, how's it going? Great to see you. Good to see you too. Good to see you too. All right. Let's see here. What are you looking forward to the most?
At the Olympics?
Mm-hmm.
2028, probably men's basketball.
Oh, yeah?
Track and field.
That, yeah, men's and track and field at the college. Okay, I'm going to ask you that again in a bit.
Okay.
Rosenstein?
Steam.
Okay.
15.
All right. And finally tonight, we are wrapping up the 2026 Winter Olympics as the Paralympics just ended, and it ended with quite the trifecta on the ice. Team USA snagged yet another gold over Team Canada in sled hockey. That marks 3 for 3 gold medals in hockey this year, and now all sights are set here on the city of Los Angeles as they are preparing for the 2028 Summer Olympics, and there is so much to look forward to. Let's bring in NBC News sports editor Greg Rosenstein to talk all all things Olympics. So, Greg, great to see you. I have a feeling right now all over the country, a lot of parents are buying a lot of hockey gear. Kids are going to be joining hockey left and right. How did you see these Winter Games?
Yeah, I mean, the Winter Games were amazing for the American teams, especially over Canada. They definitely had the upper edge. They won both the gold medal games in men's and women's hockey in dramatic fashion in overtime in the Olympics. And then the Paralympics sled hockey, they fortunately did not have to try too hard. 6-2 win to win gold medal. It's actually their 5th straight gold medal in sled hockey, so a lot of success.
Respectfully, take that, Canadians. We'll see what happens in 4 years, but before that, 2 years, we've got LA coming up. I gotta ask, what are you most excited about?
I mean, the LA Games are going to be amazing. I think they're gold medal favorites in men's basketball, a lot of track and field events, gymnastics. I'm also very curious what's going to happen off the field, off the court. As you know, this is a very driving city, and traffic is already horrible. How is it going to be for fans and athletes getting to and from the venues? Fortunately, I was told by officials that athletes are going to have maybe separate lanes to take to get to games, but for fans, you're going to have to take public transportation. There's not going to be a lot of parking. So take the buses, shuttles, trains, that's what's going to happen.
I'm still holding on to hope. You know, every Olympics has like a big surprise, right? Sometimes it's opening ceremonies. I'm hoping it's flying cars. This would be the perfect city for it. I know Archer has bought the Hawthorne Airport. Doesn't look like everybody's going to be hitching a ride, but I got to say, LA, the idea of Dodger Stadium baseball right here, and Shohei Ohtani possibly, maybe, playing against Team USA in Dodger Stadium? Like, could that happen?
That could happen. That would be amazing. I mean, you saw at the last World Baseball Classic, Mike Trout and Ohtani went at it, former teammates. We got the World Baseball Classic final tomorrow night, so you're going to get to see some of that baseball on an international stage. And I'm super excited for it, too. It's going to be amazing.
Wow. And then what's the status on tickets? I know here in Los Angeles, there's so many conflicting reports on, like, how much tickets are going to be. Can we still get tickets cheap right now?
I don't know about how cheap you're going to be able to get it. I know there's currently like a raffle system, I believe, for LA residents right now. It's going to be opened up, so fans can get tickets, but it's going to be a little bit of a random draw.
Yeah, some of the tickets out there, $28, sub $100, but that's not going to last for very long. We cannot wait. It's going to be so fun. I can't wait to take a flying car with you, hopefully very soon.
It's going to be amazing.
Thanks so much for stopping by. That's going to do it for us tonight. I'm Gotti Schwartz. We'll see you here right here tomorrow, but until then, stay tuned to NBC News Now. Thank you so much, my man. Yeah, thank you. We had to truncate everything because of the... All right, perfect. Are you upstairs? Dude, hell yes. Okay. Yeah. Do you know where my office is? It's right down here. Okay. Yeah, it's right in here. There's a little cubby over here. So yeah, just feel free to knock and come by anytime.
Definitely connect, because I've talked to a lot of people about like trying to do more sports coverage.
Yes.
And like I'm here. I've been a reporter here, so like usually we can just pop down.
You guys so very much for hanging out. What did I miss? Let's see. Dark Driz. Wait, hold up. Before we go, Dark Driz, like, are you Dark Driz Duerden by any chance? Dark Driz. Tell me you're a Forgotten Realms guy. Tell me you're a Forgotten Realms guy. Tina, bye. Great to see you. Anthony. Yes, Office Cubby. Dark Driz. What does your name come from? No, it is not Drizzt Duerden from Forgotten Realms. All right, never mind. I thought you were a D&D guy. I'm not. See ya. Bye, everybody. Hopefully, we will see you here tomorrow. See you guys.